Hello classmates, in this class, we will learn about boring machining. Boring machining is a machining method that uses a boring tool to enlarge the aperture of a workpiece with already machined holes and achieve the required accuracy and surface roughness. Boring machining is one of the commonly used machining methods for holes, and it is also an important process method for achieving precision for machining. During boring machining, the boring tool rotates at the main motion, and the workpiece undergoes feed motion. The boring machining can be divided into rough boring, semi-precision boring, precision boring, and fine boring. The dimensional tolerance level of precision boring is IT8 to IT7, and the surface roughness RA is 0.8 μm. Second, types and characteristics of boring machines. Let's take a look at the types and characteristics of boring machines. The boring machining is mainly carried out on boring machines, milling and boring machines, but can also be carried out on lasers, machining centers, specialized machine tools, and combination machine tools. Boring machines are suitable for machining medium to large diameter holes when the positional accuracy of the workpiece being machined is high or precise hole spacing positioning is required. Boring machines are more likely to meet the machining requirements. According to different purposes, the boring machines can be divided into horizontal boring machines, vertical boring machines, and diamond boring machines. The horizontal boring machine is widely used, but the machine tool structure is complex and expensive. In addition to boring holes, it can also perform drilling, expanding, reaming, turning outer circles, turning outer surfaces, boring and faces, and internal threads, suitable for processing single pieces and small to medium batches of workpieces. With small to medium batches of workpieces with large production volumes. The vertical boring machine has a precision coordinate positioning device, mainly used for machining holes on board parts, suitable for precision drilling and grinding in workshops, boring and grinding, etc. The application range of the vertical boring machine is more in line with the processing characteristics of mold parts. The diamond boring machine is used for precision boring, which is widely used for semi-precision machining and precision machining of high-precision holes. What are the characteristics of boring machining? First, suitable for processing hole systems with larger diameters, higher dimensional accuracy, and positional accuracy requirements. Second, versatile and adaptable, capable of boring single holes, whole system, end faces, etc. Third, by repeatedly cutting, the deviation of the original hole axis can be corrected. The dimensional accuracy of the hole can reach IT8 to IT7, and the surface roughness depends on the processing method, generally reaching RA equal 0.8 μm. Fourth, the manufacturing and grinding of boring tools are relatively simple. Fifth, materials with quenching and high hardness should not be processed by boring. Third, the machining range of boring. The machining range of boring is relatively wide. Boring is not only suitable for machining holes and voids on large and heavy parts such as machine bases, boxes, and brackets, but also for machining outer circles and planes, as shown in the figure. The boring machine has a processing range of boring holes, deep holes, coaxial holes, large holes, parallel holes, and vertical holes. It can also process flat surfaces, including end faces, inner rings, milling surfaces, and forming surfaces. Fourth, the main methods of boring. What are the main ways of boring holes? There are mainly three types. First, the spindle of the boring machine drives the tool holder and the boring tool to rotate, and the work table drives the longitudinal feed motion of the workpiece. The boring hole diameter in this way is generally less than 100 20 mm. Second, the spindle of the boring machine drives the tool holder and the boring tool to rotate and performs longitudinal feed motion. In this way, the length of the spindle rotation body continuously increases and the rigidity decreases accordingly. Generally, it can only be used for boring holes with shorter lengths. Third, the flat rotary disc of the boring machine drives the boring tool to rotate, and the work table drives the workpiece to perform longitudinal feed motion. The radial tool holder allows the boring tool to be in an eccentric position, which can be used to bore large holes. This method is commonly used for holes larger than 200 mm, but the holes are not easily to know. Fifth, types of boring tools. Next, we will learn about the boring tool in boring machining. There are many types of boring tools, which can be divided into single-edge cutting and double-edged cutting according to the cutting edge form. According to the fixed form of the boring tool head, it can be divided into integral boring tools, clamp-type boring tools, and floating boring tools. The single-blade boring tool is shown in the figure. The boring head is installed on the boring claw, and the aperture size is ensured by adjusting the extension length of the tool head. Boring tools for processing small diameter holes are usually made as a whole. The characteristics of a single-blade boring tool are simple structure, strong practicality, and high flexibility, which can be applied to rough boring, semi-precision boring, and precision boring. However, adjusting the size of the boring hole is troublesome and inefficient, and can only be used for single-piece and small batch production. There are two types of double-edged boring tools, fixed and floating, with most precision boring using a floating structure, as shown in the figure. The distance between the two cutting edges of the adjustable double-edged floating boring tool is the absolute size. The floating boring tool is not fixed in the rectangular hole on the tool holder, and its cutting position is automatically balanced by the back force acting on the two cutting edges during cutting. The characteristic of a double-edged boring tool is that it has high processing quality and can automatically compensate for tool installation errors. The double-edged boring tool has a pair of symmetrical cutting edges at both ends that participate in cutting at the same time, with high production efficiency and suitable for mass production of holes with larger diameters. The tool cost is high and the structure is also complex. Sixth, machining of coordinate boring machine. Next, let's learn about the machining of coordinate boring machines. As shown in the figure, the coordinate boring machines are precision machines tools for high-precision hole machining in mold parts. The size accuracy of the holes is IT6 to IT7. The surface roughness is RA 0.8 mm, and the hole spacing accuracy can reach 0.005 to 0.01 mm. So what are the structural characteristics of coordinate boring machines? A precision measuring device with coordinate positions. Optical measuring devices are installed for both the longitudinal movement of the worktable and the lateral movement of the spindle carriage to ensure the accuracy of the hole spacing of the machined hole. In order to protect the working accuracy of the machine tool, the coordinate boring machine should be installed in a specially dry and clean workshop with a constant temperature of 20 plus or minus 1 centigrade and an air humidity range of 55 plus or minus 5%. Seventh, Boring of mold parts. The boring processing of mold parts based on the characteristics of boring processing requires dimensions with high hole spacing accuracy and high precision holes in mold parts. Boring machining is widely used, such as template parts for installing guide pillars and guide sleeves in mold parts. Due to the limitation of boring tool size, the boring machining cannot be used for small-sized precision holes. With the development and application of CNC technology, boring machining tools can also be used on CNC machining centers. Due to the powerful functionality of CNC machining centers, CNC machining centers are widely used in parts processing as much as possible.